Hello everyone. My name is Claire Federick and I am an instructional designer. And today I would like to share a very important topic for us as instructional designers, which is called anti-racism in instructional design. Once again, my name is Claire Federick. And the way this presentation will work today is that I will be sharing specific resources for you to view and to check out in order to support anti-racism in our profession. At the very end, I will be sharing some of my Ukrainian family's experience of racism as immigrants to Canada in the early 20th century, just to give a personal take on this. Let's get going. The first source I'd like to bring to your attention is a book by Professor Ibram X. Kendi called How to Be an Anti-Racist. This is from 2019. This is what the book looks like. Maybe you've seen it. And if you want to check it out, it is here on Amazon and you can use your phone to grab this QR code. So a few things that Dr. Kendi says in the book is that being an anti-racist is about actively identifying, challenging, and changing policies and ideas that reinforce racial inequity. Pretty hard not to get behind that. Additionally, he posits that neutrality does not support anti-racism, that only active work can dismantle it. So therefore, we as instructional designers need to be especially proactive about this. My next slide will address frameworks we can use to be anti-racist. And here are a few to be aware of. Some you may be familiar with are the Universal Design for Learning, also known as UDL. If we apply this through an anti-racist lens, UDL will support and also affirm representation and engagement. Another aspect we can take to the bank is culturally responsive pedagogy, or CRP, which is about building learning around the cultural strengths students bring and not ignoring those strengths. So CRP creates a learning environment where students feel safe, respected, and empowered to succeed. Additionally, there are some great anti-racist toolkits of online learning and some great resources. So I'll share this QR code here. This is from the University of Michigan, and you can check out the website with your phone by using the QR code. Specifically, this website is addressing CRP, and the goal is to help instructors, first of all, recognize key elements of culturally responsive teaching, enhancing the understanding of how these practices address diverse student needs. Number two, it's designed to help instructors implement culturally responsive strategies in their own classrooms by drawing inspiration from real-world examples in the stories. And number three, to help instructors evaluate the impact of culturally responsive teaching by critically examining the successes and challenges faced by previous instructors. So we're also looking at ourselves while looking at our students, which I think is very responsible. The next resource I'd like to introduce you to is from Project Inkblot and is called How to Begin Designing for Diversity. This is from 2020. This is what the article looks like. And if you want to know more about Project Inkblot, just use your phone and grab that QR code. So Project Inkblot asks a lot of really useful questions for us to consider both before, during, and after the design process. So I'll go through them each one by one. Number one, whose voices are centered in this curriculum? Is it everybody or just a few voices? Whose knowledge and experiences are considered expert? Because we all come from different backgrounds, so we may have different ideas about what an expert is. How are different cultural ways of knowing and doing honored? This is an important one because we don't want anyone to feel left out. Who might feel excluded or unseen by this content? Once again, considerations for our content and how it's represented. And am I, as the designer, creating space for learners to challenge narratives that may have been and may still be dominant? All of these, I think, we can employ in the design process, both at the beginning, middle, and in the end as well. Lastly, I would like to share my own Ukrainian family's experience when they were immigrants in Canada in the early 20th century. My grandmother, Hanya Fedruk, wrote a memoir about all of this, and I'll just put some of the points she notes here before I read the actual passage itself from her memoir. So she says, the immigrants were not recognized by the government until they became eligible voters. The politicians became aware of the necessity to court them to receive their vote. The Anglos were afraid of these different, hardworking people. Finally, the priests and parents began to realize that the children had to go to public school to fit into the English society and to be successful. The children received considerable abuse because they were different, their clothes were different, and they did not speak the English language. The other children could be very cruel and mean, as I found out firsthand when I started school. Change was coming as education provided an avenue for the children to blend into the Anglo world, and they stayed in school until 16. The immigrants had another force to reckon with. The first and second generations of Ukrainian Canadians with education began to adopt many of the Anglo ways and were urging their parents and grandparents to do the same. They were losing some of their own culture and began to leave for greener pastures, which was very upsetting to the parents and grandparents. As generation after generation got older, they maintained a very strong culture, which I have great admiration for. These people preserved our heritage and left a great legacy for us to treasure. I dedicate my modest efforts in my manuscript to their courage and sacrifices. So it's always wonderful to add a personal piece of anti-racism into this and to realize that our own parents and we may have experienced this, of course. If you want to know more about Ukrainian immigrants to Canada, you can again go to this QR code, which goes to the Canadian Library about this period in Canada's history. I hope this has been helpful, and have a lovely day.